Okay, tonight we're going to discuss exactly is Bitcoin a good investment or not. If you're just coming here for the first time, there's a playlist. It's called You Really Want to Be Rich. You should really watch the thing in order, from chronological order, and see how this is part of the bigger picture. But this is a very practical session on is Bitcoin a good investment or not. Before we define if it's a good investment, we have to define what it is. A lot of people don't understand it. And it's very complicated, but at least we should try to understand it from a basic level. First, I'll just throw out, not to keep you in expense, I personally am a fan of it, and believe that 2% at least of one's money should, in fact, be invested in Bitcoin, at least. And you should know also that I have had this opinion for years. The first time that I found out about Bitcoin was from one of my chavrusas who was a very wealthy individual. He told me about it, explained it to me, answered all of my questions. This was back in around February 2021. In fact, I was there because he had me over for a meal. He wanted me to come over, and he was donating a Sefer Torah. And he told me about it. Now, I've had this after I did the research. It's his opinion, at least 2%, 5%. Since then, this is 3 years after I wrote this, Fidelity, which if you don't know what they are, you could Google it. They basically maintain a lot of money. It's a platform that you could buy different types of stocks on. Fidelity recommended already put 1 to 3% of one's money into Bitcoin. In other words, I beat them to it. And you should know BlackRock, others, they're recommending to put more in. So we'll see as time goes on. Now, at the time of this writing, and this is what my chavrusa told me, at the time when I wrote this, and it still is, you want to use Coinbase Pro. That's the idea. Coinbase Pro has pretty good fees. You could look around, shop around. That's what we use. They're pretty legit. And that's what he told me to do, and that's what I've been doing. Now, something that has to be pointed out, you have to make sure that you're purchasing the actual coin, BTC. There's a lot of fake things out there and whatever. Make sure you're actually purchasing the BTC, not something else. The reason why Bitcoin is so great is because it's a hedge against inflation, which basically means over time, the money that we hold is worth less and less. For example, I take out my wallet. This $100 bill, what it could purchase today, in 50 years from now, we'll be able to purchase significantly less, assuming that we still have the dollar. And that's the problem. Our money, just by sitting around, gets devalued, which means that it loses value. Bitcoin is the opposite of that. All right. Now, people a lot of times complain about the volatility. The volatility means that it's always going up and down, and it's crazy so fast up and down. Additionally, savvy investors might claim it doesn't have dividends. When you buy a stock, no matter what the price is, you're always getting a percentage of the share that you own. You're always getting more money, reinvested dividends. If you buy $100 worth of S&P 500, you're getting $1.50 every single year, which could buy more of that stock. You don't get that with Bitcoin. A lot of people might say that as an attack on it. That is the answer to that, the rebuttal, is that the lack of dividends and the volatility that Bitcoin has over the general stock market, that's the price that you pay for something that outperforms the general stock market. That is the answer to that question. That is the rebuttal. Now, Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies are very complex. No one is denying that. The technologies behind Bitcoin are very advanced and difficult to fully comprehend. But you have to realize, and this is the line to listen to over here, this could very well be, and I strongly believe this, Bitcoin is the greatest investment since the invention of the internet. And I'm not the first person to say that. Bitcoin is a finite global currency, which in simple English means it's basically, this is how you explain Bitcoin to someone who doesn't understand it, who didn't research it. It is a one currency for the entire world. That's one reason why it's very special. And it's finite. Finite means you can't just print more of it. There are never going to be more than 21 million coins. And many of them were already lost, so it's even less. AKA, it's scarce. It's not, there's no inflation on this thing. It's the opposite. This is the first time since the creation of the world that there is one currency for everyone in the world. Used to be this person has this type of coin, that person has those types of coins. This is the first time where there's one currency in the entire world. Furthermore, another reason why it's very special, it's easily transmittable. Again, these are, in short, the reasons of why Bitcoin is so special. It's the first time where there's a global currency, one currency for the entire world. Number two, easily transmittable. How are you going to transfer $1 billion, $2 billion from over here in the U.S. to Africa, from over here in the U.S. to Australia? It's going to cost a lot of money to transfer that, and it's going to take a lot of time. Or there's going to be a lot of middlemen and fees in between. Bitcoin is special because it's easily transmittable. It's portable. It's so easy. Everything now is digital. It's all on screens. Boom, easy. How many people use cash nowadays? It's very easy. Portable. You can move it around. It's immortal. It lasts forever. You know, people say, oh, but let's say this, that. As long as there is internet, there's Bitcoin. Right? And even if there's not, it's still with the cold storage. That's something else. It's immutable. You can look up these words. Immaterial, capital, and identifiable. Billions of dollars, tens of billions of dollars worth of Bitcoins could quickly and cheaply be transferred anywhere in the entire world. Just brief history, Satoshi Nakamoto created Bitcoin in 2009. It's very mysterious. They still haven't figured out exactly who he is. There are a lot of speculations. Maybe it was a group of people. That's already another topic in and of itself. There will never be more than 21 million Bitcoins. The truth of the matter is there's much less. Lost coins make everyone else's coins worth slightly more. Think of it as a donation to everyone. Satoshi once said, this is back in 2009, he said, I'm sure that in 20 years there will either be very large transaction volume or no volume. Think about that. Now, approximately 5 million Bitcoins, again, this is approximate, approximately 5 million Bitcoins, or 1 out of every 4 Bitcoins, pretty much 25%, they're lost forever. Furthermore, Satoshi owns approximately 1,100,000 Bitcoins. Furthermore, there are 1,500,000 coins that are not mined yet. Mined is a more complicated topic, and the mining will be completed in 2140, that year. And every single year, less and less gets mined. From the previous 4 years, it gets mined every 4 years. It gets complicated with the mining. Therefore, consequently, there are only approximately 13.5 million coins available to purchase. The reality is that there are even less coins that are available, right? Because a lot of this small supply is kept in cold storage, which means it can't be purchased. That's why Bitcoin is such a great currency. It's so scarce. Its deflationary nature. It's hard to get. It's like a diamond, so to say. There's a limited supply of it. All other currencies in the world are inflationary by nature. By the way, you might be surprised by this, but I'm going to tell you something very shocking. There has not been, since the history of this world, from currencies, in the history of currencies, paper, when currencies were paper, there has not been one currency in the history of the world that eventually didn't go under because of what's called hyperinflation. You could Google it. I was shocked when I came across this the first time. No currency in the history of the world ever lasted. Eventually, all paper currencies failed because of hyperinflation. After all, take out the wallet. What is backing this? What gives this value? What gives it value? In God we trust. That's what it says, right? That's what it says in all the bills. In God we trust. Yeah, very religious. You're trusting in God. You're trusting in a piece of paper. Once upon a time, the dollar used to be backed by something. For every dollar that had gold backing it up. Nowadays, nothing doing. No currency. They failed. Listen to this interesting stat. Only 1 out of every 8,000 people in the world owns at least one Bitcoin. Think about that. If Bitcoin was equally distributed to everyone in the world, everyone would only own 0.002 worth of Bitcoin. It could even be less. Bitcoin solves many problems. Another problem that it solves. 31%, or approximately 2 billion adults, are unbanked. That means they don't have a bank account for whatever reason it is. That means any extra money they have, what are they putting it? They're trying to hide it somewhere. That's not so practical. This is really the first time in history that anyone could own property. Also, it's basically digital property. Bitcoin is essentially property, or like a digital gold. Right? If you got to Manhattan and you bought some of the property 100, 200 years ago, it'd be a lot cheaper than today. That's like Bitcoin. It's still almost like going to Manhattan. It's not full yet. People still say, oh, it's too late to get it. It's definitely not too late. It's not. The major problem that Bitcoin tries to fix is what's called monetary centralization, which means that there's a central authority that actually owns all of the money and controls the access to it. The major advantage of Bitcoin is that it's decentralized, which means there's no one running the show over here. It's for everyone. In summary, Bitcoin is so important because it's the first global private digital rules-based monetary system in the history of the world. Now, before we talk about some practical ideas over here, I mean, there's all practical, but perhaps one of the most politically important speeches for Bitcoin was made on July 27th, 2024. At that time, the former president, Trump, this is before the shooting, if I'm not mistaken, and this is before he got the office again. He made a speech a few months before the elections at the annual Bitcoin conference. Some of the main points that he said are as follows. These are the notes that I took. Bitcoin is still in its infancy. In 15 years, Bitcoin has gone from an idea posted anonymously on an internet message board to being the 9th most valuable asset in the entire world. And at that time, and it's even more now, the market cap for Bitcoin is more than silver. There's never been anything like Bitcoin, and most people don't even know what it is. Once people figure out what it is, the price is going to drastically increase drastically. Bitcoin is a marvel of technology and a miracle of cooperation and human achievement. Trump then promised doubling the amount of electricity which would be used for mining, and he assured that the U.S. would be the crypto capital of the world. Bitcoin will be mined, minted, and made in the USA. Bitcoin stands for freedom, sovereignty and independence from government, coercion, and control. Then Trump promised to fire Gary Gensler and appoint a new SEC chairman, securities, new SEC chairman on his first day in the Oval Office. He said that all Bitcoin-related jobs have to remain in America. Furthermore, he said that when he takes office, he's going to appoint a Bitcoin and crypto Presidential Advisory Council to design transparent regulatory guidance for the benefit of the entire industries, which would have to get done within the first 100 days that he was in office. The rules and regulations about Bitcoin and crypto are going to be written by people who love the crypto industry and not hate it. People who want to make it clear, simple, straightforward, and fair will write the regulatory rules. Bitcoin is not threatening the dollar. Rather, the current behavior of the U.S. government is threatening the dollar, all the debt and inflation. America is going to be the Bitcoin mining powerhouse. Trump concluded his speech by guaranteeing to stockpile close to 250,000 Bitcoin, or 1% of the total supply, and not sell it. This is going to be called the Strategic National Bitcoin Stockpile. Bitcoin will get bigger, better, stronger, richer, and freer than ever before. That's basically what Trump said. Since then, a lot of positive has happened and keeps happening. Just Google it, look at the news. Just concluded it in, now you could get it through a 401k. You could put the Bitcoin in the 401k. Just want to end with something very personal. After I discovered and how important it was, we put a fair amount of our money in Bitcoin. This is I'm getting very personal over here right now. And in 2021, around February time, we put a significant amount in, and that's when Bitcoin hit its all-time high. It was close to 70,000, and it went down. You could look at a chart, 5-year chart on Google. Thing basically went down, dipped to around 30,000. Then it went back up, but then it went back down. This is in November 2021. That's when it was basically the high point, went up. And it was down for years. In fact, it didn't touch that price again until almost 3 years later. Around 3 years later. And people were saying things to me who knew that I did this. Basically, close family. Saying things, and guess what? I wasn't worried. Because when you research something and you understand it, you're not in it for a short run. There's a lot of people out there that are trading Bitcoin like stocks, options also. Look, if you know what you're doing, God bless you. Great, go for it. There's a strategy. If you know the strategy. I am not a trader, I'm an investor. And investing means, as we discussed in the past, long term. Also, you believe in something, you hold on to it. So throughout all those years when it was down, I was still buying every single week. And that's, by the way, when I learned the first time in my life, through fail, so to say, we're talking about an unrealized loss, right? Because we didn't sell it. So we still owned it. I'm not going to go into the amount that we purchased, but the idea is that it was an unrealized loss. And every single week, and this is what you should do practically. If you have, let's say, $50,000, I'm making up a number. Don't buy $50,000 of Bitcoin right now. Don't do that. Rather, what you should do is called dollar cost average, like we discussed in the past. And I'm going to put a link to it. Which means every single week, purchase it, small amounts. So you go 500 one week, 500 another week, etc. Again, it depends on the amount of money that you have. That's what we do. We bought a little every single week. And the end of the story is where we're at today. We are at today that it's sitting at $118,000 per Bitcoin. It's pretty much all-time high we're talking. Right now we're at an ATH, an all-time high. And, my father-in-law told me, he said, sell the thing. Sell at least some. They say take some of the chips off the table. I said, no, because I understand this. I believe in it. And I believe it's going to go much higher. This is a long-term investing strategy. It's long-term. I believe it. And he responded, I wouldn't be able to do that. And that requires discipline. You know what? That's what investing is all about. Take your emotions out of it. Put your discipline in it. And this Bitcoin and all the profits that are made from this, it's not even for me. It's for my kids, for my grandkids, all of it. That's who we're working for, let's be honest. Anyways, it's my opinion on Bitcoin. And I think it's a good investment. Put a percentage of it in. That's it. Any questions, comments, feel free to leave them at the bottom. I'll definitely respond. Everyone should have a wonderful night.